Good day, everyone. Thank you for joining this session. My name is Dr. Farah Diba, representing my fellow researchers Noor Irdina and Dr. Afiza. The presentation today is titled Navigating Miscommunication in Universities, Students' Experiences and Resolution Strategies. This study explores how students majoring in Language for International Communication, or LIC, at the International Islamic University, Malaysia, experience miscommunication with both academic and administrative staff, and, more importantly, how they respond when misunderstandings occur. My goal is to highlight communication not just as a mechanical transfer of information, but as a human, cultural, and institutional process that shapes students' sense of belonging, motivation, and success. Communication underpins every aspect of university life, from lectures and supervision to emails, memos, and social media announcements. When it flows smoothly, students feel guided, respected, and supported. When it fails, confusion spreads quickly, tasks are delayed, and relationships are strained. In recent years, digital communication, email, WhatsApp, and learning platforms has created new layers of misunderstanding. Tone, urgency, and emotion are often lost in text. While many studies examine teacher-student miscommunication, very few consider administrative interactions, which strongly influence students' daily experience. This research, therefore, treats the university as a communication ecosystem, connecting classrooms, offices, and online spaces. The study draws on several perspectives. O'Boyle and Klukanoff, 2023, view communication as a multi-dimensional process of meaning-making involving connection, dialogue, expression, and persuasion. It's more than sending messages. It's co-constructing understanding. Gramsci, 1998, reminds us that language is inseparable from culture. Through language, people express identity and negotiate power and belonging. Thus, even in a university where everyone speaks English, meaning can diverge because cultural frames differ. Finally, Payne's 2005 idea of organizational communication competence combines effectiveness, achieving goals, and appropriateness, aligning with norms and expectations. These ideas together frame how communication competence operates in academic institutions. Earlier studies point to recurring obstacles. Duda, 2015, identified feedback gaps and lack of interaction as key barriers between Romanian lecturers and students. Kokeman, 2016, found emotional and motivational barriers among Turkish EFL learners. In Malaysia, Nurhezreen, 2017, observed cultural and power distance issues in interactions between native and non-native English speakers. Norazma and colleagues, 2016, confirmed that language, perceptual, and emotional barriers intertwine in Malaysian classrooms. Other international work by Spiller, Jaeger, Nani, and Behera connects misunderstanding to teacher expectations, pragmatic competence, and even feelings of neglect among tribal students in India. What these studies share is that miscommunication is multifactorial, involving emotion, culture, and context. What they lack is a holistic view that includes both academic and administrative staff. The gap my study addresses. The study had one overarching aim: to explore the causes of miscommunication between LIC students and university staff, and to identify the strategies students use to resolve those misunderstandings. Two research questions guided the work. 1. What are the causes of miscommunication between LIC students and university staff? 2. What strategies do students employ to resolve these miscommunications? Understanding these two dimensions provides insight into both the problem and the practice of communicative competence in higher education. To analyze causes, I adapted Bazzanella and Damiano's 1999 Triggers of Misunderstanding framework, expanded with later research. It identifies several categories: physical barriers, environmental or technological interference, cultural barriers, differing norms, humor, or politeness conventions, language barriers, vocabulary gaps, technical terms, or translation issues, psychological barriers, emotions, attitudes, and perception, interpersonal barriers, history or self-concept that affects openness, gender and power distance factors, hierarchical or stylistic differences that limit dialogue. These categories helped interpret the complex patterns that emerged from students' recollections. To analyze strategies, I relied on Tingtoomey and Dorji's 2015 Intercultural Communication Competence Theory and Face Negotiation Theory, Tingtoomey 2015. Together, they emphasize 4 transferable skills. 1. Communication effectiveness, achieving mutual understanding through mindful dialogue. 2. Communication appropriateness, responding suitably within cultural and situational norms. 3. Communication adaptability, adjusting tone, behavior, or medium. And 4. Face negotiation, maintaining dignity and harmony for self and others during conflict. These theories provided the analytical frame for how students actually managed breakdowns. A qualitative case study design was chosen to capture real-lived experiences. 8 undergraduates participated, 3 from English for International Communication, 2 from Malay, and 3 from Arabic. All were in their 3rd or 4th year, have interacted extensively the university administrative officers. Data were collected through semi-structured interviews and WhatsApp conversations to accommodate comfort and language proficiency. Students described specific incidents, what happened, why they thought it happened, and how it was eventually resolved. Analysis followed Braun and Clark's 2006 thematic method: reading, coding, clustering into causes and strategies. To strengthen trustworthiness, intercoder reliability checks were applied. 2 independent coders reviewed the researchers' themes. Recollections were included only if agreement reached 80% or higher. 3 inclusion criteria were enforced. 1. A real incident of miscommunication. 2. Involving a lecturer or administrative staff. And 3. Evidence of a resolution attempt. This yielded 9 recollections for causes and 6 for strategies. Enough for rich thematic interpretation, though not statistical generalization. 6 dominant categories of miscommunication emerged: physical, cultural, language, perceptual, emotional, and interpersonal. Each reflects a different layer of the communication process. The physical layer, tools and timing. The linguistic layer, vocabulary and clarity. The cultural layer, norms and politeness. The psychological layer, perception and emotion. And the relational layer, trust and prior experience. Many incidents involved more than one layer simultaneously, showing that miscommunication is seldom one-dimensional. Physical barriers mainly stemmed from digital communication. 3 students described waiting days or weeks for replies to emails or WhatsApp messages. In one case, a student emailed an officer for poster approval. The officer promised to reply later, but weeks passed. Only when the student visited the office in person did she receive an immediate response. This illustrates the loss of immediacy in asynchronous platforms. Technology, meant to improve communication, sometimes distances people from responsibility and feedback. As Riva and Galimberti, 1997, observed, asynchronous exchanges often reduce urgency and co-presence. Tone misinterpretation was another physical-digital issue. A WhatsApp message asking for marks was perceived as criticism, prompting a defensive reply. Are you questioning my marking system? Without vocal cues, written messages can easily sound hostile. These findings suggest that choice of channel strongly affects interpretation. Language barriers were the most frequently reported, appearing in 5 recollections. Students in Arabic and Malay tracks mentioned difficulty understanding dialects or technical terms. One Arabic major explained how a change in diacritic could completely alter meaning. Mustaqbal means future, whereas mustaqbil means receiver. Conversely, some lecturers themselves struggled with English proficiency. One wrote, not exceeding 10 pages, when she meant a minimum of 10. Another switched between Malay and English mid-class, asking students to translate for international peers. These examples confirm that linguistic competence is reciprocal. Misunderstandings flow both ways. It also echoes Yeager and Evans, 2013, who found low pragmatic proficiency among trainee teachers to be a major cause of breakdown. Cultural barriers emerged when communicators interpreted politeness differently. A local student misunderstood her foreign lecturer's comment, "Be honest," in Chapter 3, taking it as a moral accusation rather than encouragement for detailed explanation. This aligns with Klopf's work, showing how identical words carry different connotations across cultures. Perceptual barriers arose from role expectation gaps. When a student society asked an administrator to look for potential collaborators, the staff member went ahead and finalized a partnership, assuming approval. Different assumptions about initiative led to tension. Emotionally, fear was a recurring theme. One respondent avoided confronting a staff member known for temper outbursts. We decided not to confront because we knew she could get angry. Such avoidance reflects emotional and hierarchical constraints. As Shevaleva et al., 2014, note, anxiety and guilt often suppress communicative willingness. These cases reveal that miscommunication thrives when emotional safety is lacking. Several students linked misunderstanding to previous negative experiences. One said, based on personal experience, if the officer is fed up with someone, he won't want to deal with that person again, so we kept quiet. This shows how prior interactions color future communication. Power distance was also influential. Students hesitated to question decisions made by higher-ranking staff. Even when misunderstandings were obvious, deference to authority discouraged clarification. In collectivist contexts like Malaysia, such restraint preserves harmony, but can prevent honest dialogue. Overall, miscommunication arose from the interaction of structural, linguistic, and emotional forces rather than from any single barrier. Turning to the positive side, how students resolved miscommunication, 4 interrelated strategies emerged, aligning closely with Ting Toomey's model. 1. Face negotiation. 2. Communication effectiveness. 3. Communication appropriateness. And 4. Communication adaptability. These approaches reflect a balance between assertiveness and politeness, showing how students navigate respect, hierarchy, and clarity. Let's look more deeply at each. Most students prioritize saving the other's face. Instead of confronting mistakes publicly, they sought private clarification. One said, I always message my lecturer personally because I don't want to embarrass her in front of the class. Another avoided escalating an email delay, explaining, I didn't want to create more problems with the staff. Such actions reflect the collectivist value of relational harmony. According to Otzel et al., 2000, maintaining mutual face prevents long-term relational damage, even if the immediate issue remains unresolved. Here, harmony was often considered more important than being right. However, Excessive face concern sometimes limited open discussion. Students occasionally accepted miscommunication silently for fear of seeming disrespectful, a finding consistent with Sorrell's 2013 on Asian politeness norms. Students who achieved resolution typically engaged in iterative dialogue. They asked clarifying questions, confirmed details in writing, and followed up. One group described multiple WhatsApp exchanges with a foreign lecturer until both sides agreed on assignment expectations. Another met the lecturer in person to finalize schedule changes, then documented the outcome online. These cases illustrate active listening and persistence, key aspects of effectiveness. Frey-Mier, 2005, found that such proactive communication improves academic engagement. In my data, students who combined politeness with persistence not only solved misunderstandings, but also built trust over time. Empathy was central to appropriateness. Students tried to view situations from their lecturers' perspectives. For example, recognizing that new or foreign staff might be unfamiliar with local academic systems. One student said, "I understand he came from a different background, so I tried to adjust." This empathy prevented conflict escalation and promoted tolerance. Adaptability, meanwhile, involved modifying tone, language, or even behavior. Some students switched from text to face-to-face communication when tension rose. Others accepted minor unfairness for the sake of future collaboration. In one touching case, a lecturer apologized for confusing instructions, admitting she was new. That humility restored rapport and re-established a cooperative learning atmosphere. Adaptability, as Giles's communication accommodation theory explains, creates convergence. People move closer communicatively to maintain connection. Across all cases, several themes emerge. Miscommunication is inevitable, but manageable when empathy and patience are present. Students possess latent intercultural competence, even without formal training. The digital environment magnifies tone and delay issues, demanding clearer norms. Hierarchical cultures require explicit permission for students to seek clarification safely. These insights position communication competence as both a skill set and a mindset, balancing respect with transparency. Practically, the findings suggest 3 levels of intervention. 1. Individual level. Embed communication skills workshops in language and orientation courses, focusing on tone management, constructive feedback, and conflict etiquette. 2. Departmental level. Establish a communication playbook outlining response times, escalation channels, and etiquette for email and WhatsApp. 3. Institutional level. Foster an inclusive culture where students and staff can discuss misunderstandings without fear of reprimand. Intercultural and emotional intelligence training should be extended to administrative staff, not just lecturers. Such steps can transform miscommunication from a source of frustration into a site of learning. To conclude, this study shows that miscommunication in universities is multidimensional. It arises from the interaction of structural, linguistic, cultural, and emotional factors. Students use a combination of face-saving politeness, active clarification, empathy, and adaptability to overcome challenges. Ultimately, communication in education is not merely about transferring knowledge. It is about building relationships that sustain motivation and trust. By cultivating empathy and clarity at every level of the institution, universities can move closer to the ideal of a truly communicative, inclusive academic community. Thank you very much. Do email me if you have any questions.